We are here again. Thank you for being with us. It's the Law Podcast. I am Kafero Alexander, your host. For those who are joining us for the first time, I am an advocate of the High Court of Uganda and all courts in Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, those of you joining us for the first time, I officially welcome you to the podcast. Today we are going to talk about something which I consider very, very important. It's also emotional, very emotional. The relationship between a man and a woman of adult age, that is 18 and above, their stay, and also their separation. So the joining is always joyful. The separation is always sad. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to talk about marriage and divorce in this country, Uganda. So here in Uganda, there are marriages that we accept or that are accepted under the law. The first marriage, being that we are in Buganda, it's called Kwanjula, the customary marriage. Now, every tribe or every custom has a way they celebrate marriage. Now, that traditional celebration of marriage is what we call customary marriage. So I've had people and I have seen people considering customary marriage not being a marriage. They celebrate a marriage, they celebrate the customary marriage, and they also do a church marriage. Now, shortly, I'm going to tell you the significance of that, the legal significance, what it means in law, for you to do the customary marriage and then do the church marriage. But let me just complete this. So we have the customary marriage, the one that is celebrated according to the customs of each tribe. The Nyankole, the Toro, the Baganda, the Bateso, all have that. So we have church marriage, the one where you go to churches. I'm also going to tell you today, and let me tell you that all those churches that you celebrate your marriages in or from must be licensed and must be authorized to celebrate marriages. So those of us who celebrate from the other churches, be careful. And those who celebrate from the traditional churches, it is important. Usually traditional churches like the Catholics, the Adventists, the Anglicans, those ones sort of have, it's a bit more clear than the other Pentecostal churches, not in bad faith. It's just that the Pentecostal churches come up every day, ladies and gentlemen. So be careful where you go. Just find out before you celebrate your marriage. And then, so we have customary, we have church, then you have the civil marriage. The civil marriages are the ones that are celebrated before the registrar of marriages. Those of you who have been in Kampala, you have been to a Mamu house, you have seen people celebrating, getting married there, and you're wondering what's going on. It's not a birthday, it's a marriage. And that marriage is as good as a customary, is as good as a church, is as good as the Muslim marriage that I'm going to tell you about. So all marriages that are allowed in this country, Uganda, have the same efficacy. A customary is as good as a church, is as good as a civil, is as good as a Muslim marriage. So don't you think that when I go to church, I don't have to go, when I go to church, I still have to go to civil? No. All marriages are the same. Then after that, we have the Mohammedan. Mohammedan, that is the Muslim marriage. How the Muslims celebrate the marriage. And that marriage must be celebrated according to the customs or the beliefs or the teachings of the Muslim faith or the Islamic faith. So at marriage, you become one. And there are certain steps that you must follow. Those steps we don't have the time to discuss them all today because each marriage has its own steps. But precisely, there must be notice. There must be consent. That two people getting married must accept to get married. Freely, voluntary, not forced. So if you're getting married to a lady, if you're marrying a lady, or if a lady is getting married to a gentleman who has not accepted freely, voluntarily, is a problem. That marriage stands not to be a marriage or stands to be nullified. We shall talk about the nullifications later, how the marriages can be ended and how marriages can be considered null and void. But what I want you to take from this episode really is that the marriages we have in Uganda are all as good as the other: church, customary, Islamic, and civil. So civil, if you don't come to Uganda, if you don't come to Kampala before the registrar here at Amamu, you can do it at the district. So those of you up country don't have to come to Kampala to celebrate civil marriage. You can do it at the district. And when you go to the district, they will guide you. There's a form you fill in, there's certain money, pay very little money that you pay, then your identifications, your passport photos are displayed in the notice board, such that people can know and come and tell the cow that, you know what, this gentleman who's intending to celebrate a marriage already has celebrated a marriage with a certain lady, or this and this, this and that. So those are the conditions that you have to satisfy for you to qualify or for you to go through a valid marriage. So then it leads me to the other considerations in other marriages. So the person celebrating marriage must also be authorized to celebrate a marriage. Yes, just like you see the cow, the registrar here of marriages in Kampala, you see, or even your pastors must be authorized to celebrate marriages. Otherwise, your marriage may be cancelled in future because it was celebrated by a person who's not authorized to do that. Then, what do I have to do for me to go through these other marriages? Are those things we have talked about. Now, when you're in the marriage, the rights that you enjoy as man and woman are the same. And I need you, or I will want you to understand the difference between marriage or matrimonial property and the property of a deceased person. Those two things are different. So matrimonial property, this one usually is property that the two people have agreed or considered to be marriage property, or property got out of marriage. You see, you can even, as a person, you could have your property before getting married. You choose. The law allows you to choose whether to make it matrimonial property or not. It does not force you. So it's not a given. It's not mandatory that when you marry a man, when you get married to a rich man, or when you marry a rich lady, all her property is going to become matrimonial property. No, it's not. So we need to clear that also. It's not. It's only that property that is considered to become matrimonial property, or property that you work together to achieve or to gain during the subsistence of the marriage. But even then, during the subsistence of that marriage, you can choose to have personal property. You can choose to have personal property. Yes. Some of you are wondering, are we hearing the right thing? Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, you can choose to have personal property within and in your marriage. And so, when time comes for you to end the marriage, you can share. And I've also had the misconception that you share 50-50. No. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not true. The law does not say that you, at separation or at divorce, you share 50-50. No. The court determines the percentage depending on each one's effort in gaining those properties. Yes, that's the position of the law. Now, again, before I move to divorce, a disclaimer. Ladies and gentlemen, on this podcast, I am making sense of the law. I simplify legal matters for you. But it's not substitute for legal advice. For you to get legal advice, you must get it from a lawyer, an authorized lawyer like me, who has an address, who has a practicing certificate. Every lawyer must have an address. Lawyers don't practice from the road. Anyway, that's a by the way. But it's important for you to note. All right, so let me talk about divorce, because after marriage, unfortunately, people divorce, marriages end. It's not true that the divorce rate is higher than the marriage rate. No, that's not true. The divorce rate is still low. Maybe it has increased, yes, over the years, but also the population has increased over the years. Anyway, but the reasons for divorce, the law has laid down certain things that lead to divorce. One of those things is what we call cruelty. Cruelty could mean beating, violence, physical, yes. Cruelty could mean silence. The wife comes back at home every day and she does not say a word to me. That silence creates emotional torture. It disturbs my emotional being. That can amount to cruelty. My wife does not beat me, but she talks indirectly. You know, these people who don't talk to you directly, but they are talking to you. And she does that all the time. She doesn't cook for me. Oh, maybe the guy comes back, the husband this time beats me, he insults me, he doesn't beat, but he insults me every day. You know, that amounts to cruelty. The practice of witchcraft can also amount to cruelty. So cruelty is that situation that causes torture, causes pain, psychological or otherwise, to the other spouse. Then there's adultery. This one seems to be quite familiar. It seems to be one of the leading reasons for divorce, at least in Uganda, and at least from my experience as an advocate. So adultery usually, and the men, okay, I don't want to be unfair to the men, but yes, it's everywhere. It's every day. It's within our knowledge really that men are, more responsible for adultery than women. But yeah, adultery usually is when you have an affair with another woman, not being your wife. That is a major reason for divorce. Then could be separation. Separation. You simply walk away from the family, from the home for 3 years and more. Now the law has said that 3 years and more without communication, to really show that this person, for all intents and purposes, has lost interest in this person and they have moved on. So we have adultery, we have cruelty, we have separation, and then we also, or what we call desertion, and then there is, well, you may not be adulterous, you may not be cruel, or you may be all of those, but also, for you to get a divorce, you must demonstrate in court that the marriage has irretrievably broken down. There is no chance whatsoever that you're going to get back with this person. It's very important. Why? Because at the time of marriage, the vows are lifetime. It's a lifetime commitment. And therefore, at separation, the courts or the law believes that you must show that really you're done. So, this is the thing that you must show. You must show that there was thought through grants. But also, most importantly, that while you want the divorce or at divorce, you must show the court that I have not come up with a plan. This is not planned. The divorce is not planned. The moment the court finds out that you have planned to divorce, there's a problem. It will not grant the marriage. It will not grant the divorce. It won't. So you must demonstrate to court that this marriage has irretrievably broken down. We cannot get back together no matter what. And this is not a plan. We have not connived. It's just that we have failed to carry on. It's very important. Now, let me talk about divorce consent. It's a relatively new development in our law here in Uganda. And it causes confusion. Even the clients, always ask, but counsel, is it okay to consent? Can he give me a divorce? The reason why we are still grappling with it, trying to find out what it is and inquiring so much about it, is because of what I told you earlier, that you must demonstrate to court that you have not connived with this person to come with your spouse or partner to come for a divorce. But the development of a consent or divorce out of a consent, is because the law has realized that why should we continue having these people in court fighting over divorce, yet they can actually agree on the divorce. You agree on the divorce, and the court only helps you to determine the sharing of property. So the divorce consent is a new development and is properly and lawfully accepted in Uganda. As long as you believe, the both of you, the two of you, that this marriage is irretrievably broken down, we can't carry on, it's no more, just approach your lawyer, let him draft a consent. The consent should state that we have failed, we can't, this marriage is irretrievably broken down, we can't carry on, and therefore we agree that the court should terminate this marriage. So the divorce consent is okay, and it's easy, it's the simplest. It's the simplest. Because why would you fight to continue in a marriage with a person who is fighting not to be with you? It's a waste of resources, a waste of money, and it's very dangerous because you're forcing yourself to sleep in the same bed with a person who does not like, a person who wants away. So it's important that when both of you realize that we can't carry on anymore, just approach your lawyers. They can draft a consent for you. You sign. You can even agree on the sharing of the property. It makes all this easy. You see, the same way we consent in commercial cases, land cases, is the same way we consent in divorce cases. It's possible. Just agree on who's going to take the child, because it's very important when you have the children. The custody of those children is very, very important. So the children, who's going to take the children, who's going to visit the children, what property are we taking, who is taking this, what shares, all that. You can do all that in a divorce consent. So I don't encourage you to divorce, but I'm just letting you know that there's now a cheaper and simple way, or simpler way of ending a marriage, especially where you think that you can't carry on. You can't carry on. So ladies and gentlemen, for today, allow me to stop there and see you in the next episode. Thank you for watching.